Chairman Kim Jong-un and for all those present.
I had meaningful for developing friendly relations between North Korea and Russia, as well as ensuring peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and in the region, as well as about common interests on international issues.
And China has held a successful meeting. Speaking in Beijing, Chinese the two leaders have achieved positive results.
Russia and North Korea are both friendly neighbours of China's. We are happy to see Russia and North Korea strengthen their high-level communication and deepen cooperation with each other. We believe this will be beneficial for them towards increasing the development of relations between each other.
And another topic about Venezuela, the Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza has spoken at United Nations headquarters in New York one day after celebrating the International Day of Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace. He said United States' economic blockade on his country is a criminal act which is people.
And which have effectively had consequences, humane consequences, in lives, in suffering. And we will explain on the basis of this information. You know that this started with President Barack Obama, who signed the executive order on 8 March 2015. Who would think to attack the treasury, the central bank of a country, so it cannot fulfill with importation of goods and services to fulfill the needs of the population? It is, as what Mr. Abrams said, I have said it publicly, that now the coup has failed. They are going for the economic collapse of our nation. But what about the kids, the children, patients with HIV, with chemotherapy, with dialysis? What about surgeries that have to be suspended? I live this year for the
meeting on this Thursday afternoon, and the People's Forum of New York with social movements of United States. In the gathering, the diplomat explained the damages caused by the constant attacks from United States against Venezuela, aggressions that affect the social benefit the Bolivarian people. The social movements attending stayed with the people of Venezuela.
From the United States, we send a strong solidarity greeting, understanding that the sanctions that the United States government has against Venezuela, the attack, that the war that has been assembled by the government of the United States is not an attack that has been supported by the North American people, since the social movements, the poor people understand that the only who are suffering the wounds of those sanctions is the Venezuelan people, that has not done more than solidarity with the whole world. Here in the Bronx, here from where I am, south of the receive support.
And now we move to Colombia, where various social movements have joined a national strike to oppose government policies. To know better and more information about this, we have the following report from our correspondent Tatiana Portela. Welcome.
We are here in the center of Bogotá that the president meet all the agreements. Alberto Diaz, member of Fensuagro. Alberto, what are your demands for the president?
Today we have gathered here to protest against the National Plan of Development that ignores the campesinos and pretends to build reforms against workers, campesinos, and public education. We are also mobilizing for the right to live, since murders are something common now. These are the main reasons why we have decided to go on this national strike.
If the president doesn't listen to your demands, what are you going to do?
Here there are more than 25 departments where various social movements are mobilizing in all the country. Campesinos have been demonstrating in Putumayo, Nariño, and in the coast. We are showing our discomfort and call for unity. We call for the leaders to stop. But we also are in defense of the peace agreement that now the government wants to destroy. We call on the Colombian people to mobilize.
Thank you, Tatiana. And in Spain, candidates are crisscrossing the countries in a final push to convince voters of today's elections. With the latest update.
The electoral campaign candidates are working hard and are spreading their messages all over the country. Pablo Iglesias, the leader of Unidas Podemos, has traveled to Galicia, the north of Spain. The leader of Barcelona, and Barcelona is also the city where Albert Rivera, the leader of Ciudadanos, and Pablo Casado, the leader of El Partido Popular, has decided to travel today in order to spread their messages. Santiago Abascal, the leader of the right-wing party Vox, also is traveling and organizing political acts in Valencia. Tomorrow will be the last day of the campaign. On Saturday, meanwhile, all 36 million of Spaniards are waiting impatiently for the elections to be next Sunday.
Thank you, Eduardo. We'll keep following the latest information. Now we go to a first break here from the South. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Telesur English and on my account at Loud. We are back at the highest stakes in light of the approach of Cyclone Kenneth to the northern Mozambican coast. Last month, Cyclone Idai caused hundreds of deaths in the region, and now Kenneth made landfall with wind speed equivalent to a Category 4 hurricane on the north coast of Mozambique on Thursday. Official Paulo and rescue workers in South Africa have discovered more bodies of those killed by over 1,000 flights, which occurred mainly in the port city of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal province. President Cyril Ramaphosa visited affected communities and told that all their needs are addressed.
We will give you as much support as we possibly can, and we will make sure that the needs that you have are addressed and that they are met at all our levels, provincial, local, as well as national level.
And bad weather, where at least 17 children and 1 adult have died after heavy rains battered the east of the country. The rains have also caused extensive damage to houses, leaving hundreds of families in cold. Uganda, which has 2 long rainy seasons, is prone to at least 100 people were killed by a landslide triggered by torrential rains in a mountainous area of the country. Trinidad and Tobago has come under fire after his officers searched a radio station reportedly without presenting a search warrant. Police had gone to Radio Jagriti to obtain recordings of a statement.
And if the media, Ms. Umati Lider and Mr. Paul Richards and others feel that the Commissioner of Police is being seen too much in the media, he loves the media, it is the media that contacts me. I get over 50 calls a day from the media. And now I am no comment to make, so because you might get just that. So to Ms. Umati Lider and the others, for your type. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, I thank you.
Well, members of the media, the Commissioner will not be entertaining any questions at this time, so this brings us to the end of today's media brief.
And an exhibition in similarity to monotheistic mannequins with veils belonging to Islam, Christianism and Judaism are on display to show the resemblance of the three religions. Photographs, texts and a video showcase the similarities and differences between the groups, as well as the reciprocal influence between them.
When you see all this similarity, not conscious or unconscious, but denied conscious. You can see this inner dialogue between all these three groups.
With this religious style of we right here and from the south, we'll be right back. And 3 days after the government to control inflation, changes the elections, I must say. Our correspondent in Buenos Aires, Edgardo Esteban, explains for us in the following.
Here in Argentina, President Mauricio Macri is facing a very difficult situation right now, with the economy seemingly out of control. There's a lot of uncertainty and discontent, as the measures announced on Monday have had very little effect on the galloping inflation. This has now been aggravated exchange rate to 4 pesos, beating all speculation in the price of basic goods. But not even his traditional allies in the banking sector, who have always supported him, seem to be going along with these measures. There's also a lack of confidence abroad, with Argentina's country risk rating climbing, provided any answers or new policies to respond to this very grave situation in the economy.
Thank you, Edgardo. And in Chile, officers of the Special Police Force have reportedly detained a minor at the University of San Chile while on the streets near the university when the police began repressing the demonstration. Many of the students fled the university grounds, but police officers followed them. Students are rejecting the government policies regarding education, especially classroom policy and station of universities. And now, for more details of this protest, we have the following report from our correspondent, Paola Dragnik. Welcome.
College and high school students are taking part in the first protest against the Safe Classroom law that allows the school principals to expel students in case the authorities can prove they have broken the rules detailed in the coexisting book of the school. Demonstrators are also rejecting the privatization of universities that have left around 27,000 people without education. To tell us more about these protests, we are joined by Carla Toro, president of the Student Union, to talk more about this.
We are protesting against the privatization of education and to demand a better system to fund the education sector. 27,000 students had to drop out since they lost their scholarship because of privatization. The only option they were given was to take a loan and to have debt to continue studying, and if that doesn't change, we will continue marching.
Several streets in the capital will remain closed until the demonstration is over. The students are worried that the protest will be repressed. We will keep you updated.
Thank you, Paola. Indigenous leaders in Brazil have attended special sessions in the Senate of National Indigenous Protests enters its second day. Indigenous authorities are there to discuss land rights and the chamber's role in the protection of the environment. They are trying to defend hard-won rights that critics say are threatened by President Jair Bolsonaro. The discussion takes place in the sidelines of an annual 3-day-long demonstration known as the Free Land Encampment in Brasilia. Meanwhile, the protest outside Congress is growing, with around 2,000 to 3,000 indigenous protesters and their supporters taking part. Various tribes have set up along the avenue leading to the governmental building under the watchful eyes of riot police. Apart from meeting with members of Congress, protesters also hope to meet with the Supreme Court to push for greater protection of their lands.
There are serious risks of setbacks. The achievements we have achieved with the Constitution of 1988, the demarcation of indigenous lands are paralyzed. FUNAI is dismantled. Several indigenous lands are suffering attacks. There is a campaign of hatred against indigenous people.
To protect their way of life. There are more than 800,000 indigenous people and over 400 demarcated territories across the country for their exclusive use. Access by outsiders is strictly regulated by President Bolsonaro's vote to take control of their land, and has already stripped the FUNAI Indigenous Affairs Agency of its powers to define, giving that decision-making power to ministry. Now we go to Bolivia, where violence against women continues to be a pressing problem, with many cases. That's the story of Mamani Ramos, who was allegedly thrown off a bridge by her is on hold at court, and the alleged culprit remains. A bill against gender-based violence was passed in 2012. Yet more than half of women in the country suffer from abuse by their partners.
They won't even show me the investigation file. They hide it. I don't know if his father wanted to clean everything out. Justice for me.
Mexico, in Chiapas and Oaxaca states, more than 900,000 hectares of pastures and forests have burned down so far. Firefighters continue to battle blazes both from the air and on the ground. And at least species could disappear in the next 10 years, according to a United Nations report. This report reveals that agriculture, deforestation, mining, and hunting are the main threats to biodiversity of resources. Evaluation made on ecosystems in 15 years. Like this, we come to the end of this news brief, but you can find much more information website where you can read opinion articles, interviews, and find much material that we produce especially for you in the Caribbean, in Africa, and all around the world from Telesur. Until next time.